Welcome to Grief is the New Normal. I'm Dr. Heather Taylor, a licensed psychologist and grief specialist, here to help change the conversation about grief and build community and connection while we all adjust to this new normal we are living in. This podcast is for you if you are grieving or if you are supporting someone in a season of grief. I'm glad you're here. Hey friends, welcome back to Grief is the New Normal. I'm Dr. Heather Taylor, and today we're diving into one of the most emotionally confusing, draining, and often misunderstood forms of grief, anticipatory grief. That grief you feel before the loss ever happens, that tight in your chest, I know what's coming and I hate that I can't stop it from coming kind of grief. Yeah, we need to talk about that. Whether you're caring for someone with a terminal diagnosis, watching a loved one fade from dementia, or bracing for a big transition, you're probably already grieving. So in today's episode, we're going to unpack what anticipatory grief actually is, why it's real grief, even if the loss hasn't happened yet, and how to sit with the discomfort of waiting for the other shoe to drop. And we'll also talk about some tools to help you cope when the goodbye hasn't come, but the grief already has. So let's get into it. Let's just start here. Anticipatory grief is real. It's the emotional experience of grieving before the loss happens, and it's complicated because you're stuck in this weird limbo. You're caring, you're loving, you're waiting, and you're also already mourning. You might feel constant anxiety, guilt for grieving too soon, sadness mixed with deep presence, a fear that you'll either miss the moment or break down too soon. You might feel guilt that you wish it was over, or guilt that you're feeling relief that it's coming. This form of grief is particularly exhausting. You're not only showing up for someone else emotionally, physically, logistically, you're also carrying the weight of the future loss every single day. And that's one of the reasons you're so tired. That's why your heart feels so heavy before the death or transition occurs. And that's why you deserve space to talk about it. Story time with Heather. We're going to talk about Grandma's story again, just because I got good stories with her. That was a great space for anticipatory grief chats. So my grandma passed when she was 93. And she had been on the decline for a long time, and I loved her. We were pals. She wrote me a letter every week while I was in college. She had macular degeneration, and so her handwriting got quite questionable. So I've always been pretty good at deciphering tricky handwriting. Thank you, Grandma, for your creatively written letters. And she downsized her home over time and outlived 3 husbands. And when it was time, the siblings all got together. My mom's one of 5. They all got together to create kind of a vigil plan once she transitioned to hospice. And my mom was on shift 1, and I asked if I could be there. And that felt so special to get to be there on that first day. We had all been in the process of saying goodbye to Grandma for a long time. When I'd go visit her, she would mix me up with other cousins. I have a lot of cousins. And that was okay. Like, I knew that she loved me and she knew that I loved her. We would talk books. I used to go over to her apartment and take naps and have lunch. And it was just really special getting to have that time with her. And she loved to spin a yarn. She could tell stories till the cows came home. And so even near the end, that was something that was always really true, is she always liked to tell stories. And so in thinking about that, holding vigil that first day, we were just telling her stories and capturing memories and talking through things. And it was the end of that first day, and her breathing changed. She really made this pivot, and I actually got to be with her when she passed. I was in the room sitting with her and my mom and my cousin while she passed, and it was so lovely and peaceful, and I feel so grateful for that gift. She had dementia, she'd been in kidney failure and didn't want to do dialysis, so that was impacting her cognitive functioning, and she was ready to go. And we all all got the chance to say goodbye. We'd done a big birthday thing for my mom, who was born in February, and we all got Chinese and had this big family gathering, and grandma was still with it. She hadn't gone unresponsive yet. And so we got to take pictures and be silly and tell stories. And that was some of the legacy work that we got to do in anticipation of her decline, which happened 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later. It was less than a month. She was ready. And so I think about that often when thinking about anticipatory grief. What were the things that mattered the most to us? What were the things we wanted to say? What did we want to make sure she knew? She didn't want to be a burden. She was such a selfless, thoughtful human and just really loved her family and wanted time. Like quality time with her was one of the most important things. And I just feel so grateful that we got to gift her with that in those last months in the build up to the goodbye. I think what's so important with anticipatory grief work is knowing what's going to make meaning for you after they're gone. If we are gifted, if we have the privilege of time to say goodbye before they're gone, what are those things that we're going to want in the after that are going to help us process this loss, process this pain, this story? And whether that's maybe your loved one played an instrument and you want video or audio of them playing that. Maybe they were a great storyteller and you want to capture some of those stories. Maybe you want to do family photos with multiple generations in the picture because you have access to that while they're still here. It's going to look different for each person. And I've worked with a number of clients on figuring out what's going to make the most meaning for you. What are the questions we want answered? Do they have a preference of music at their celebration of life? Do they have all of the business stuff in place? Do we want to do some work around that? And doing all of this while caregiving, it's exhausting because, again, it's that bracing for impact space. And we're pouring out, we're showing up, we're trying to make meaning, do legacy work. It's a lot. It's very multifaceted, very complicated. And so I think just making space to talk about this is important. So let's talk about why people don't talk about this kind of grief. It makes people uncomfortable. You'll hear things like, don't get ahead of yourself. They're still here. Focus on the time you have left. You should stay hopeful. Now, listen, I'm not anti-hope. And grief and hope can coexist. Being realistic about what's coming next doesn't make you cold. It makes you human. You're allowed to feel the heaviness. You're allowed to mourn the changes before that goodbye. You're allowed to start grieving, even if no one else around you is ready to do the same. I think it's important to give ourselves permission to ask the questions, to name the things, to voice the needs while they're still here, naming how challenging it is, how complicated, how overwhelming, how exhausting. Like it impacts our work, our social relationships, our capacity at home, the cleanliness of our homes, because we're pouring out into this person while we're still here, while we're bracing for impact. And I think it's important to acknowledge that rather than getting caught up in the, you should stay hopeful, focus on the time you have left. There's important things to talk about while they're still here, sure. And death is inevitable. We will all die. And it's okay to talk about that. It's okay to talk about what comes after, to ask questions. Yeah, I think if people are telling you to be strong or stay positive and you feel like you're already breaking, you're not doing it wrong. You're just grieving. You're giving yourself permission to feel more than one thing, to feel the both and. So what are some tools for coping when you're in the not yet phase? How do we take care of ourselves when we're stuck in the holding pattern of grief? Here are a few things I encourage clients to try when they're navigating anticipatory loss. 1, name what you're feeling without judgment. It's okay to say, I'm already grieving. It's okay to say, I'm already missing them, especially like with dementia or when there's cognitive deficits. Like I am missing who they were. I am already sad about that. That gets to be okay. You don't have to wait for the final moments to start processing. You can start processing now, today, in this moment. Giving ourselves permission to feel what's true, even if it's complicated. Again, I always go back to the feelings movie, the Inside Out movie. You can feel more than one thing at the same time. And more likely than not, you're going to feel more than one thing at the same time while you're in this anticipatory grief space, because it is complicated. It's not linear. It's not just sequential feelings. Number 2, stay present. but not at the cost of your emotional health. You don't have to cherish every second if every second is painful. Being present with taking breaks. Go outside, take a breath, tap out when you need to. When we're on hospice, this can sometimes be a marathon. It's not always a sprint. These final days, weeks, months, years, especially with some early onset dementia, like this is a long haul. So making sure we're taking care of ourselves while we're in it, because when caregiving, there is such burnout that can occur. I think it's important to try to pace ourselves. Grab coffee with a friend, give yourself permission to sleep, to take breaks. It's important. It's going to help you stay present, especially if you want to be present at the very end. Taking breaks and taking care of yourself is important to get there. Number 3, create space for both connection and preparation. It's okay to talk about the future. It's okay to make the plans, to talk about the details, to iron out all those moving pieces so that you really know what they want. And this doesn't mean that you're giving up. It means you're honoring what's coming while still loving the person who's here. It's this both and. We feel more than one thing. We believe more than one thing. We are complicated, dynamic creatures. And so it's okay to both connect and prepare at the same time. And 4, find your grief people now. You do not have to wait until the loss has happened to seek support. Talk to a therapist or a coach, join a support group, text your people. You need scaffolding now, not just after. The scaffolding helps set us up to be successful. It helps us figure out what it means to hold space and do the things and the function and make the plans. Like, start that now. It doesn't mean you're giving up. It means you're being practical. It means you're setting yourself up to be successful later. It's setting yourself up to grieve. This tags into that episode talking about why we avoid talking about death. If we're avoiding talking about death, that means we're not talking about grief, because you can't have one without the other. So set that scaffolding up now. All right. What's one of the hardest things about anticipatory grief? It can feel invisible. The world isn't acknowledging your loss yet. Maybe no one even knows what you're carrying. So you end up holding it alone, second guessing your emotions, and wondering if you're quote unquote being dramatic. You are not. You're not being dramatic. You're just ahead of the timeline, and that's not your fault. So let me say this as clearly as I can. You are allowed to feel the loss before the loss. That doesn't make you less loving. It doesn't mean you've given up. It means you're being honest about the emotional toll this is already taking. So here's what I want you to take away from today. First, anticipatory grief is real. You are allowed to mourn before the loss happens. You don't need to apologize for your sadness or hide your heartbreak. And you deserve support now, not just after the goodbye. Here's your gentle homework. Check in with yourself. Name what you're feeling. Even if you just need to write it down in a small way in your planner or a journal, that gets to be okay. And 2, ask, what would support look like for me right now, even before anything ends? What does support look like for me now? What do I need right now? And start to think through those circles of support. Who are my people that I can lean on? And start to set that scaffolding up right now. So if this episode resonates with you, please share it with someone else walking this path. Feel free to DM me on Instagram at Grief is the New Normal and let me know how anticipatory grief has shown up in your life. Let's make space for this. You are not alone. You're not too early. You're right on time with where your heart is. So remember to be kind to yourself today. Take care, and we'll see you next time. That's it for today's episode of Grief is the New Normal. If this conversation resonated with you or you think it might benefit someone else, please share it. Sharing can open doors to healing, understanding, and normalizing these griefy conversations. If you're craving deeper insights or ongoing support, consider signing up for the Grief Gap newsletter. It's packed with resources, tips, and personal stories to help you navigate your grief journey. Visit the website www.griefisthenewnormal.com to subscribe. For those who prefer a more personal touch to their healing process, check out my grief journal, Authentically Unapologetic. It's designed to help you explore your grief on your own terms with prompts and exercises that encourage reflection and growth. I'm Dr. Heather Taylor, and I look forward to our next meaningful conversation. Our soothing tunes are provided by the Datacorns. If you're interested in sharing your story, collaborating, or learning more, please email me at hello@griefisthenewnormal.com. You can also stream the episodes on YouTube for more engaging content. Until next time, keep exploring your grief with intention and support, remembering you don't have to do this alone.